6:03. Start right here with the agenda. As we have since we've been doing these virtual conferences, there are no minutes. You can go to the Eastgate's website and our about committees, CAB, somewhere down in there, and all our past meetings have been recorded. They're on video recordings to go over everything. Hopefully tonight's meeting's a little shorter than last month. We had the pleasure of having Deb Floor from the Mahoney County Land Bank give a presentation. We would love to have her here another time and expand a little bit on some of their functions over there. But right after our last meeting, I think she got evicted, so she's a little homeless at the moment. She's in 20 Federal. Yeah. She's in the old Farmore building, so she's looking for a new home. So, all right. So we'll start tonight with our guest. Steph and Ed, you want to begin?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Justin and Kevin, for having me here at the CAB, and Ed as well. He'll be coming in and talking about the infrastructure side of OPWC's programs. I'm here to discuss the Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Fund, which is the green side of the OPWC funds. I'm going to go ahead and open up Eastgate's website, and we'll work off of this. So Clean Ohio is in its 18th round for Clean Ohio, which would be the rounds for Ed would be much greater than that. But so we've been working since 2001 when the state of Ohio, citizens in the state of Ohio voted for this bill, and it is funded through Ohio Public Works. And the nice thing about Clean Ohio Green Space Fund is it funds those projects that will expand metro parks, city parks, village parks. It is good for land acquisition, for stream restoration, and or wetland restoration. Something our NRAC is doing new this year is we reinvented our scoring methodology so that we could fund improvement projects on previously acquired land. That land hadn't been acquired using Clean Ohio funds. So now entities can come back and improve their property with permeable pavers or parking areas with permeable pavers or some sort of permeable surface. They can come in and do their walking trails. So every time somebody comes to Clean Ohio with a project, we encourage them to kind of have a draft plan of what they want their land to look like once they acquire it. Because if improvements are not included with the application, then at least when they come back for the next application to do these improvements, we already have an idea of what they're looking to do. So on Eastgate's Clean Ohio site is all our District 6 information. And again, we cover Mahoney and Trumbull counties within District 6. This round will have close to $3 million, $2.93 million in Clean Ohio funds to distribute to any applicants that come in. So as I mentioned, we are in this program year 2022 to 2023. We kicked off on July 1st with our introduction to what will be available. Like I said, 2.9 to $3 million in funding. This is our calendar year for the district. We had an applicant workshop webinar that was last month. It was attended sparsely, mostly by consultants that were trying to get some ideas as far as what projects or who was applicable to apply for Clean Ohio and what applications or types of applications are eligible. So you'll see here, these are every year we establish these dates looking forward. And our next meeting will be on September 16th, and that's our annual NRAC meeting where the NRAC members will come together and they'll vote on their chair and vice chairperson. Currently, Zach Svett from Trumbull County Metro Parks is our chairperson, and John Woolard from the Mahoning County Engineer's Office is our vice chair. All these meetings are open to the public. We begin at 9 a.m. unless otherwise stated, and they're held here in Eastgate. But every piece of information you need for our district, Clean Ohio, is right here. I also want to bring to your attention who our NRAC members are. This list is our District 6 members. They are the members that come together and review the applications, as well as provide scores and vote whether the projects are eligible and approve them to go down to OPWC for their final written approval. But you can see by the member makeup, we are very diverse between Mahoning and Trumbull County representation. We do have a lot of government right now represented with either townships, county engineer's office, cities. But that doesn't mean that these are not folks who aren't conservation minded and or don't know or don't have that ecological background. One thing I will say about our NRAC is they are very knowledgeable and very forthcoming with their ideas that they share to potential applicants, especially when we have issues. They are very thorough with reviewing the applications, and a lot of them I think have learned from one another over the years as far as, you know, things to look at when they're reviewing applications. One person might know one thing better than another NRAC member, and that information is, you know, passed back and forth to the members, and it's a pretty solid, good group, and they've been around for quite some time. Each of them have a 3-year term, but like I said, they've been around for a while and have been renominated. This year, we have 2 new members, Gary Davenport from the Mahoning County Land Bank, and Trish Johnson was nominated as well, and she's with the city of Warren. So those are our 2 newest members that haven't been on the NRAC for quite some time. So excited to work with both of them, and their backgrounds are really, really interesting with, you know, Gary working for the land bank and Trish with the city of Warren. Back to Eastgate's website, all of our application information is always here. So any potential applicants, we always tell them if you have any questions, if you need any guidance, if I'm not available, then our website has the information. But one of the nice features we've done over the past several years is we've mapped all of our District 6 Ohio, Clean Ohio properties. And thanks to our GIS staff, we have these wonderful story maps where you can look at the different properties that have been purchased using Clean Ohio dollars, and they go all the way back to round 1. So in the far right-hand corner is this little drop-down box, and you can see the different rounds that are below that are from 6 down to 1. So if we start in round 1, these are all the projects that were acquired in the very first year of the Clean Ohio program. So for example, when you click on this picture over here, you'll see on the map where it is located. You can zoom in and get a better idea. All these other green spaces are pretty much Clean Ohio projects as well, but they are not ones that were purchased or implemented during round 1. So you can play around with the map as much as you like. And some brief information about the projects will be here on the left-hand side, whether it's an acquisition, a stream restoration project, it can be general open space acquisition, how many acres were acquired through the grant at that time, who the applicant was, the total cost for the entire project, and then we break it down into how much of that cost was Clean Ohio funds. And one thing to note that we tell our applicants is that Clean Ohio requires a 25% match. So sometimes the match can be local funds, it can be in-kind work, it could be in-kind supplies, labor, or it could be contributions from outside. So if a land conservancy is going to work with you, then they may want to pledge $500, for example, to the project. So that's $500 out of that 25% match that you already have a jump start on. But you'll see here the difference between how much that total cost was and how much of it came from Clean Ohio. Recently, we went up to round 15A. We had applications in round 16. However, and unfortunate, they did not go through. There were some issues with the applications that hopefully will be worked out for future rounds. But like I mentioned, unfortunately, they didn't go through. So that's why we have a pretty good pot of money for Clean Ohio in this round. But most recently, 15A, which ended last July, we had several wonderful park spaces. Hawkins, Marsh, Marigold Preserve, Mill Creek Metro Parks. In their mission statement, they're trying to reach and branch out into the townships of Mahoning County that they really don't have a presence in. And so they're doing a pretty good, decent job in doing that with having spaces that they're acquiring down here in, close to Berlin Township. One of the other rounds or other projects, we have Squaw Creek Headwaters Preservation Project. And this was a project that was done in 2 phases. Little Squaw Creek Phase 2 Stream and Floodplain Restoration Project. So we haven't really seen a lot of stream restoration projects over the past, 5-6 years until recently. Liberty Township was looking to restore their stream that goes through their park there, right there off of Belmont Avenue, and they did it in 2 phases. So if you had ever seen the park before that, I believe it was in round 15. Nope. Here it is. The first project here, they wanted to restore the first 1,000 feet. And pretty much what they did was they did some stream bank stabilization. They had some plantings. They had some water direction done so that it would prevent further erosion from taking place and eroding the bank up to the driveway that goes through the park. And you can see that the total cost for just restoring the stream was about $260,000, and out of that, $195,000 came from Clean Ohio. The phase 2 went upstream and is looking to preserve, or rather correct, some erosion issues that are going on near the baseball field. And if you've ever been out there, if you go beyond the snow fence that was there, you would be right inside the creek, because the difference between the drop between the top and the creek was a doozy. So they're looking to put the creek back into its original channel and kind of push it away from where the erosion was at. If any of these projects ever pique your interest and you're looking through them and you want more information, you can contact me. I can get you the application. You can take a look at it to see the engineer schematics, to see what specifically they were doing for each and every project. Another project to bring to everyone's attention coincides with the Struthers Dam Removal Project. So the one thing about Clean Ohio is that you can use other grant applications as matching funds. So the city of Struthers, as you know, was going through that water resource restoration sponsorship program funding to remove their dam. Part of that project was also stream restoration. Well, they had enough funding for the bottom line restoration component of the grant application, but the city wanted to go above and beyond. So what they did was they applied to Clean Ohio using those Ohio EPA funds as match. And so this way, Clean Ohio funded a above and beyond type of stream restoration project for that portion of the Lowville Dam. So rather than just getting the bare minimum type of restoration, they were able to go out and get what they really wanted and what they had really planned for in their original Ohio EPA application. So what's nice about Clean Ohio is that they work together with other programs as well as kind of emphasize them and enhance other applications as well. So I encourage everybody to take a look at our website and, again, just take a look at the Clean Ohio properties that we have and see, what piques your interest. And if there is a project you want to learn more about, it'd be great to share any information. Are there any questions about the Clean Ohio? Oh, Pete Milliken.
Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, Pete.
I wanted to ask you about Mckelvey Lake. Of course, that's on Youngstown's east side, and as you know, the level of that lake has been lowered to allow Aqua Ohio to repair the dam, and then I guess once the dam is restored, then they'll turn the property over to the city. Right now, it's posted no trespassing on land or water, but people fish from the banks there. I'm wondering if there is a possibility right now of using any Clean Ohio funds to help prepare Mckelvey Lake for recreational use, perhaps installing a concrete boat ramp there to be used, boat launch ramp to be used by the public, and maybe some other improvements along the shoreline. Maybe with the water down, now is the time literally to get in on the ground floor and get some of these things done. It might be easier to install a boat launch ramp while the water is low, to pour the concrete while the water is very low. And then when they restore the lake level, you'll have a concrete launch ramp that will be available at all water levels. Anyway, I'm wondering if you've talked to Youngstown city officials about using Clean Ohio money for Mckelvey Lake, which I think is a great asset for the city of Youngstown.
I have not, but that's a good point. So that would be something that could be an eligible improvement item for the Clean Ohio property. Whether they come to Clean Ohio or they go to ODNR's NatureWorks grant program to get something like that put in, it's certainly worth a conversation with the city. I know right now we're working with them on securing the sponsor for their 3 dam removal projects. But I'm not sure what their plan is for that entire lake once the dam is fixed. I'm assuming they're going to fill it back up. But yeah, that's definitely a good point you have there to talk to them about that.
I worked on the land that they did acquire back. Before I was an employee of the city, I was a contractor. We acquired a lot of property right around between Mckelvey Lake and Lincoln Park back in like 04, 05 time. So they have a lot of property there, and whatever they got with the lake, it's an extensive amount of property. We didn't get a lot of the things we wanted back then, but I bet you it's more available now than it was 20 years ago,
Right, and they can certainly come back to the Clean Ohio program as long as their improvements were on the properties that were purchased with Clean Ohio dollars. They would just have to make sure that's mentioned in the application, and so that's attached to the application as well, so that
they don't have a planning. I don't think there's other than Hunter, who's part-time, they don't have a planning person, really. So,
right. Right. So it's kind of hard to direct the questions and the conversation. I mean, I know.
So somebody must have a plan. They wouldn't have bought the lake. Must have some kind of dream about it or something.
So the lake was purchased and the property was purchased by Western Reserve Land Conservancy at the time. And then what they did was they gave the property to the city of Youngstown. Yeah, so that's how the city acquired that. But before they had done that, there was to be conversations which led up to the dam progress or maintenance right now. But before Western Reserve Land Conservancy was to give it to the city, Aqua had to come up with their plans and get their dam project in motion before.
Yeah, who's paying for that now?
That's Aqua. Yeah. So another thing with Clean Ohio is it can now be used for dam removal projects. So OPWC went back to the legislature this past year, and they were talking about different areas to use Clean Ohio dollar funds for. And dam removal and sediment removal are two newer additions to the Clean Ohio Fund. But the caveat is your project has to improve water quality. So we can't just go in and take out a dam and that's it. Your project has to be based on water quality data and whether or not your project is going to increase or improve water quality. That's the biggest caveat. The sediment dredging is a little trickier because you have to prove in your application that the sediment, one, has contaminants in it or legacy pollutants, and that you also have to prove that your dredging and removing of the sediment will improve water quality. So for example, what's going on in the Mahoning River would be, if our district had enough money, those would be eligible type project activities because we know that any sediment dredging and or dam removal projects are going to improve the water quality of the Mahoning River. So those are two new concepts, which I was really happy to hear that they had opened up their minds to having those, entertaining those.
How much did money does our district receive every year?
We receive about 1.3 million in regular allocation, but because we have open projects and when they close, we might have money that is left on the table that comes back to our district. And because we didn't fund any projects last round, we have close to 3 million for this program year. So this program year will go from July 1st to the end of January when those final application reviews are. And then the next round will start in March sometime. So OPWC is trying to get the Clean Ohio calendar side matched up with the infrastructure side so that things kind of run in conjunction with one another and don't get off track, off schedule.
So we receive an allocation whether we have projects on that or not.
Correct.
But that's always good because then we can roll it over for the work.
Correct. We can't borrow from upcoming rounds. We have to use what we have. And if we don't have enough money to fund one of the projects, then that entity has to apply again next round. So, yeah, we've been, I guess, fortunate, but unfortunate in the same breath because we had some really good projects, but things fell through the crack that were outside of an applicant's control. But hopefully this year we'll get some good applications. They're not due until November. So any other questions?
I was just want to talk about the use of that area out here when the city of Youngstown takes it over.
I'm thinking it's the new Parks Department.
Park.
I'm thinking the Parks Department.
Well, but then they don't have a.
I know.
director now either.
I know. Don went to Columbus.
Bob still works for him.
Does he?
It's close. Yeah, literally choice. Yes, Jennifer's open.
Okay, I've got one more thing that just popped up. Sorry, Ed. It's really cool, and I wanted to get it out because several years ago, we worked with the CAB to gather stakeholder input for our non-point source implementation strategy plans for 2 watersheds in the Mahoning River. So the NIPSIS plans, as the acronym stands, we'll just call them watershed action plans because I think a lot of people recognize them as that rather than that big NIPSIS jargon. So anyway, we did one for the Chocolate Run Mahoning River, which would have included the Canoe City Leavittsburg Dam. Then we did another watershed plan for the city of Warren, Mahoning River. Well, after those 2 plans were endorsed by the state of Ohio, there were 4 other watersheds that have state endorsed plans. So these are something to have our communities embrace. These are something for our citizens to maybe try to convince or talk to our officials about having them done. Because once you have a watershed action plan that is state endorsed, and you want to do a stream restoration project or a water quality improvement project, you can use that plan to gain Ohio EPA dollars through their various funding sources. So it's kind of like an extra adage to the community to have these types of plans. So on our website, we have under environmental, there's this Mahoning River restoration link. You scroll down, oops, I'm sorry, it's not that. It's under programs, environmental planning, I'm sorry, and it's wastewater and watershed planning. So scroll past all the 208 stuff, the sanitary sewer stuff, and you get to this watershed planning. Well, again, our GIS gurus here created this story map, which is it's so awesome. And we only did the Mill Creek ones right now, just to kind of get this up and running in a test. So CT Consultants and Eastgate worked together in conjunction with the ABC Stormwater District, which is pretty much Boardman Township, Canfield Township, and Austintown. They focus mainly on Mill Creek because that's the obviously largest watershed that flows through those 3 communities, those 2 communities. So when you click on one of these watersheds, it's either Headwaters, Indian Run, or Anderson's Run. Anderson's Run covers a majority of the city of Youngstown. So from Boardman Township, follow it down the Market Street, Southern Boulevard corridor, that Mill Creek corridor right there. And you have, pretty much the west side of Youngstown, east side of Austintown, and, the Calvary Run area of Youngstown. So there's a couple projects in Anderson's that are going to be seeking 319 grant funding to get up and running. But when you click on these, you'll see a nice little story map of the entire plan. So you can scroll through this plan and go chapter by chapter. So chapter 1 is the introduction. You can read it right there. You don't have to print out a document. It's right there. This is the entire chapter 1. Then you have, again, report background. You want to skip to chapter 2, you can go to chapter 2 and look at the watershed characterization. This is pretty much all the physical, geological, biological features of that watershed. It'll give you the water quality data from the Ohio EPA. Anything that is updated should be on there. Chapter 3 was where these critical areas were identified based on stakeholder meetings, where the stakeholders that came to these meetings, both officials and citizens, identified hotspots. So whether it was stormwater issues, flooding issues, areas that they felt were prone to erosion, this is where all that was captured to create these critical areas. So critical area is essentially something that was identified, for example, erosion or riparian setbacks are needed. And you take a look at the entire drainage area flowing to one of these red points. So you can see the first critical area is Cranberry Run, and that's pretty much this whole eastern side of Boardman Township that drains right to this red point. This is Cranberry Run. So it kind of goes behind Home Depot and drains that 224 South Avenue corridor. So anyway, you go through here, learn a little bit about that critical area, land cover, biological details that are specific to that critical area. So we go from looking at a watershed to a very specific detailed area, because any stormwater or water quality improvement projects are going to come from that specific area, that water quality data. Scrolling down, when we go to chapter 4, this is where the projects are identified to help raise the water quality within that critical area. So Boardman, ABC, CT Consultants created this table of ways to improve the water quality at certain points within that Cranberry Run area. Two of the projects that were identified, one of them was the Market Street School District. They wanted to create that stormwater park. So parts of that project can be funded using $319 because it's an identified project in this plan. So if there's a component of that project, say for example, they want to create wetlands or they need to do a certain stream restoration aspect, they can apply to 319, Ohio EPA's 319 program, to get funding to do that specific part of the plan, because it's been identified in this watershed action plan. Another one that they had identified was a stream restoration project in the Forest Lawn Cemetery. So that project can be added to this document so that funding can be funneled towards it. So there's a lot of cool marriages between NPSIS plans and Clean Ohio funds, and also, you know, Ohio EPA dollars to help alleviate stormwater issues and erosion issues within watersheds. So it's not even just that, you can even look at FEMA dollars. So it's all these programs working together to come to a common goal of, you know, using FEMA to remove homes that are in a floodplain, coming to 319, Ohio EPA's 319 program to do the stream restoration component. So there's all these little pockets that this plan can help open avenues for communities to. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. These are something new. If you get bored and you want to take a look at what's going on in the watersheds, these are 3-4 plans that have been really, really good for communities when they take a look at them and implement them. And Boardman Township is certainly starting to implement their own document. So, any questions? Thank you, everyone. I'll turn it over to Ed for infrastructure side.
Boardman Township actually has a planner on their staff.
Right. So they do.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Stephanie took,
Sorry.
I was like,
I have some really cool stuff.
I know, we should have split it up and you could have went one night and I could have went another night. Okay, so we're going to talk about the infrastructure side of the Ohio Public Works. And again, I'm going to use our website. We go to programs, or regional planning. And I'm all the way down at the bottom. Ohio Public Works Commission. Infrastructure program. Just going to scroll down. We just have some links here to the actual state web site. Now, the infrastructure program, we're in round 37, so this is the 37th year of this program. Round 37, the planning for it is starting now. The money for round 37 will be released next July 1st. That's when round 37 money time. So round 36 money was just released. Those projects should be started, getting going right now. So we have grant money and we have loan money. Grant money comes from the State Capital Improvement Program, which comes from bond money. And the Local Transportation Improvement Program, that comes from gas tax. And we also have a revolving loan fund. Now, the State Capital Improvement Program, that can fund road projects, bridges, culverts, wastewater, stormwater, and water projects, all infrastructure. The Local Transportation Improvement Program, because it comes from the gas tax, can only fund road projects, bridges and culverts. Has to be the transportation side. So we'll scroll down here. This is all our files for the upcoming round. This is our allocations. As you can see, there are 19 districts in the state of Ohio. We are District 6, both Mahoning and Trumbull County. You can see the total allocation, a little over 10 million, the LTIP allocation, skip allocation, and then the revolving loan fund over here allocation. Now we do have, we probably have a good $1 million of loan money left over from last year that would be added onto this. What things gets in your way up there? Okay, each year we have to, the Ohio Public Works has to approve a scoring methodology for our projects. Everything is based on points. This is a point program. The District 6 committee, which I'll show you in a minute, they go through and score these projects each year. So this is our scoring methodology. Most of it's been the same for many, many years. We did have to change it a couple of years ago to add a few items. So a lot of that stuff in there, if anybody's familiar with this program, it's going to look the same. And in our program manual, this is another one that we put together every year to explain, that explains the whole program. I'll just come down here and show you our District 6 Public Works Integrated Committee. It's made up of 9 voting members, and each voting member has an alternate. Both county commissioners get to select one voting member, and they have selected the members from their sanitary engineer's office. City of Warren gets one. Youngstown gets one. The small cities from Mahoning County, cities and villages, gets a member. The Trumbull County Township Trustees gets a voting member. Those switch every 5 years. I think in another year, 2023, I'm gonna have to go through and go to the Trumbull small cities and villages and get a voting member, and the Mahoning Townships get a voting member. And in the Mahoning County engineer, in the Trumbull County engineer, and then we get one private sector member being their alternate. 9 members, 9 voting members. Okay, so this year, the pre-applications are due the end of August, so just less than a month away. This is the pre-application. Now this is brand new for this year. This application changed. I mean, it's got most of the same stuff, but just in a little bit different format. It's a 4-page pre-application that all the communities that are seeking funds will fill out and submit to me in paper form, along with other items, engineering items. And then I will collect all those pre-applications, put them in folders for the committee members. I get one original for myself. And then with all the information that the communities provide in this pre-application, I can start scoring these projects. I can start plugging in the useful life, the age of the project, the cost, the type of project, all that stuff goes into a giant spreadsheet that automatically starts scoring these projects. Then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom just for a minute, just to show you that this is this year's calendar of upcoming meetings. So we can look at August 29th. That is when the pre-applications are due. And then in September 20th, that will be the first time the District 6 committee gets together. And we will have a meeting where each community that submits a project, they have 3 minutes to get up and tell why their project is important. So we'll go through, depends on how many projects, we can go through 35, 50 or more projects in that morning to go through those. And then September 30th, that's just a sheet of paper that is due. October 4th and 18th, that's when the points are scored. That's when the important points are scored by the committee. We'll be sitting in here. We'll be going through these projects one at a time on a list, and the committee will score certain criteria in the scoring methodology. And then after each one of these meetings, I update the spreadsheet with all the points and everything, send it back out to everybody to see how the projects are going. And then November 1st, that is when the committee will get back together. And that time we'll look at our allocations, our balances to see how much money we have to work with for the next year. Then the committee will go down the projects and they will draw a cutoff line on who gets funded and who doesn't get funded. At that time, we'll also have a small government meeting, which we will select 7 projects that didn't get funded through our allocation, and they get sent to Columbus to compete with all the other districts for a chance at another pot of money. But it has to be a small government. So it has to be 5,000 people or below. So, and I have there's a map on our website that shows, so all the communities in purple are small governments. If they don't get funded through our allocation, they have a second chance. And last year, we got 5 projects funded. Really good. Okay, round 36, that's the one that was just, this one was just, the funds were released in July. This is a final project list. This top portion, that is the state capital improvement program money. That's the grant money up here. Got 2 loan projects from the city of Youngstown. And then we got the LTIP projects. And then down below, we got small governments. 2 of them are unfunded. And then at the bottom, we have a list of, these are all the projects that did not receive funds last year. You guys can go, anytime you want, go on and look at these. I just want to show you this one really quick. This is a total project award summary, rounds 1 through 35. I update this every spring. What you'll see here is every community that's ever got a project with or from OPWC, you got the round here on the left, you got the source, the name of the project, and how much money they got, and whether the project was completed. So every community is in here. So if somebody wants to find out, well, how's this Canfield Township been doing? Well, you can see how they've been doing over the years. A lot of these files in here are just for either the final application or information you needed for the pre-application. Yeah, there's nothing in here that. So going back down to our calendar. So after the committee picks which projects get funded, I will send out an email to everybody telling them now it's time to get ready for your final application. Okay. So at this point, those communities, they're guaranteed the funding. They just have to submit the final application to the Ohio Public Works. And as of last year, that is now done online through a portal that they created. The state created a portal. So you go in there and you fill out all the information, which pretty much matches our pre-application. So you can just kind of copy and paste the information in there. And then you got to include a few other things like a legislation that says that you will have the local match for this project. And then the CFO letter, engineers estimate, you gotta have a map. These items have to be included with the final application. So after those applications go down, I have to go into the portal and I have to pick which funding source they go to, SCIP or LTIP, which it doesn't really matter. Grant money is grant money in that program. But just the wastewater projects have to be funded by the SCIP money. They cannot be funded by that LTIP. So I'll go through that usually sometime in January, and then they get reviewed by our representative down there. And then the money gets put in the system and the money comes available July. I would like to, I put this table together the other day. 5 years of funding, 2018 through 22. We got 220 projects funded. Now these projects, you got to remember, a paving project could be 10 roads or more. You know, the community like Youngstown might submit 5 roads as their paving. Boardman might submit 12, 15 roads. That's considered one project. So 220 projects in 5 years. Total Ohio Public Works funding, almost $64 million. And total project funding over $165 million. So that means those communities are putting in a lot of local match for these projects. Any questions?
For the township, does it, the county, really look at your
No.
township?
Yeah, because that's the township's roads. That's their infrastructure. That money's got to come from them.
So that's like with ABC Stormwater District. So if they have a stormwater infrastructure program, their match can come from that stormwater district, that stormwater utility fee that is charged to those residents in Boardman, Canfield, and Austintown. But I believe it's specifically set aside for infrastructure like projects. So if it's Boardman Township, I think that money from Boardman Township goes to that. So there's a funding source there for the stormwater side of it, as well as, you know, the Clean Ohio stream restoration side. That's considered when you do that stream restoration, like that daylighting of the stream behind Market Street School. That's a stormwater project. Because you're opening up a stream that was once piped to now accessing its floodplain rather than shooting it down into that stream that is eroding in forest lawn cemetery. So you're allowing it to use nature to hold the water until space opens up downstream. So it's one of the benefits of them having that utility. They are gaining money to help sponsor these programs, help fund them.
Any other questions online? Yeah, Stephanie, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Put this forward. I'll rest for the general votes.
Like I said,
Same thing, Jen.
Either one of them.
Genevieve is on this.
All right, next month, we do have our general policy board meeting, and so Samantha and Genevieve may be representing, in addition to Justin being there as well. Our TAC, Justin, you want to give a brief synopsis of what happened at the TAC meeting today?
Yeah, not a whole lot to say. Our TAC meeting that was scheduled for earlier today was postponed until next month. So there will be a brief TAC meeting next month, followed by a workshop detailing the Safe Streets for All program, which is a new funding program through the federal government as a part of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. So members of our staff will be presenting all the details of that program to anybody that is interested in going. But yeah, nothing to report from the technical advisory committee.
Our CAP census results, since you had some interesting stats on that.
Yeah, so I have a very quick presentation that I think is very cool. Some interesting data. So over the last few months, this actually goes back to May, I believe. I think I might have this information. We wanted to get a sense of who we were outreaching to. So when I kind of send out these information blasts about the Citizens Advisory Board meetings, send out the agendas and the meeting summaries, links to other things that are happening with all of our programs. We wanted to get a sense of who we're talking to. You know, in a sense, I'm just putting the information in the computer and it's getting sent out through the internet. Don't know who's on the other side, other than when all of you show up here, which is so great. But we came up with this idea when Jeff Golder was in giving a presentation as an update on what was going on with the US Census. So he gave an update on the 2020 census. That was a pretty big effort to get an accurate count of population. So he had given his presentation, and we had come up with this idea to do a census of our Citizens Advisory Board, or at least our outreach, to figure out some demographic data on who we connect with, who we're outreaching to, and whose voices we are hearing for our programs. So we developed this survey and sent it out to all of you, and are happy to report that 59 of you found it important enough to send us back data, which is tremendous. Like, that's incredible. So happy with that response. And you'll see on this slide some of the topics that we addressed in the survey. We'll kind of go through these a little quick, but to look at this data, some interesting things kind of pop out, at least I think so. So this is showing age. So you'll see under 18, I think that's an impossible category for us to capture through this venue. Not really what public engagement is set out to do. However, in the past, we have run programming specifically targeted at youth to capture those voices and figure out kind of the youth input on some of the things that we're doing. So while that's not going to show up here because we don't intend to engage children in our everyday programming through our CAB, you know, have them monthly, we will undertake specific targeted public engagement efforts to kind of talk with some younger folks and get their ideas on some of the stuff that we're doing and maybe inspire them to take on a career in government or public infrastructure, all of that. So, but you'll see So 18 to 24, another small category. So the column on the right-hand side that's titled region there, that is US Census data for Mahoning, Trumbull, and Ashtabula County. So we aggregated it, averaged it out. 8% for that category region-wide. Our CAB category is everybody on the mailing list that receives the emails that I send out. So 3% in that 18 to 24 range. And on our board, we don't have any representation from that age group. So again, I think this is kind of a nebulous age group. Typically tend to be, you know, early career college students, not a whole lot of time available. So it's okay. There's some work we can do, but I think, you know, what we're seeing there is fine. You'll see that next category, 25 to 34, 8% of our board members are there, 12% is the CAB as a whole, and the region, that's 12% of our population, so we're spot on. That's fantastic. A little bit overrepresented in the 35 to 44 category, particularly on the board. And then 45 to 54, we're kind of spot on for the general CAB mailing list. No one on our board falls in there. So, you know, just some things to think about. 55 to 64, we are right spot on there. And 65 and over, you all are the most engaged. So congratulations to anybody that falls into that category. You win this category. So just some really interesting stuff. So we'll kind of flow through the rest of these topics here, race and ethnic identification. So you'll see that majority population in the region does identify as white or Caucasian. You'll see that for our board, we are identical with that region. So, you know, equitable representation there. CAB, we are getting a lower kind of self-response rate for folks that do identify as white. For Black and African American, 0% on the board for the responses that we received. Our CAB general response, 14%, whereas the region is 10. Hispanic and Latino do have a bit more representation on our board and the CAB as a whole, with the region coming up as 2. And then multiracial identification. So no one on the board identifies that way, but with the CAB, we're seeing a 10% response in that category, whereas the region reports a 3% with the census. So in terms of gender, between male and female for the region, female has a slight edge, but nearly 50-50. And I would say that our board and our CAB kind of falls in that same category. Nothing really stand out. We are a bit male heavy on the board, but not so much so that we're moving in any wrong direction. Education, I think, is the biggest outlier for where we may not necessarily be representative of the general population. So you'll see those figures on the right-hand side for educational attainment across the region. And when you look at our board, all of you have a bachelor's degree or higher. So just something to think about when, you know, maybe if you're engaging with people that may seem interested in participating in the CAB and some of the work that we will do internally and reaching out, that's definitely an area that we want to take a look at and see if we can engage some folks that maybe just have a, you know, larger variety in their educational attainment. Employment, you know, falling in line with many of these categories. I think there's a lot here to pull out, and with kind of a smaller group, splitting it up into these many categories can tend to be a little funny when you're trying to pull out data, but you know, we're not too far off, maybe a little overrepresented on full-time employment, but looking at housing, we're pretty close, a little light on renters on the board, but between the general CAB and the region, pretty close to parity there with 24% and 29% as renters, 76 and 71 as folks that own their homes. Looking at people who have a disability, so you'll see across the region, about 16% of the population self-reports that they have a disability. With our survey, we found about 8%, with through our engagement. So not too far off, a little bit low, but still engaging folks that identify that way. We'll see here with veteran status, and this is one area that we, again, kind of have more than what the region is reporting. So you'll see our board shows 33% participation from veterans. The CAB is at large 19%, whereas the region, only 9% of our population is veterans. Active service is an interesting one. I included that in the survey, but those folks are typically just confined to bases. So didn't know what we would get from there. No one responded to that. There's actually only, I think, 104 people in our entire region that are active service. But so that was just something I threw on there as a test. We can play around with that information the next time around. And then lastly, is English the primary language spoken at home? This was something we wanted to throw out there because it is an environmental justice category that we analyze all of our transportation projects on when they go through Stevens TIP process. So you'll see in the region, about 6% of our population speaks a language other than English at home. However, in our engagement efforts, no one reported this for themselves. And I think, you know, there's some reasons for that that we could dig into. But what's next for this? So this is our benchmark. This is the first time that I know of, at least, that we've kind of run through this exercise to kind of see. And I honestly wasn't really sure what to expect. So I was very pleasantly surprised at everyone's engagement with this. But we'll review where we need to be more intentional and work to identify ways to improve our representation. And then we'll look to do this every other year just to kind of re-benchmark ourselves and see how we're doing and making sure that we're hearing from the right people. So just a thank you to everyone who took the couple minutes it took to fill out that survey, and we'll, you know, keep plugging along and hope to update this information over time.
Thank you, Justin. Just a quick reminder to all the members to please get on website and renew your applications for this upcoming year.
Yeah, I did send out just real quickly confirmations to anybody that did reapply for membership. So you should have gotten those. I believe we have 5 in, 4 of which are members currently reapplying for next year. And then we did get 1 new application so far. So the link for that application form will be in the meeting summary. It's also in the follow-up email that I sent. So super easy to access. If you're currently a member, I think it's maybe 3 questions. So it's super easy for you. If you're a new member applying, there's a couple more questions just to get some more information from you, but super easy.
All right, the next item, resolution for passage. Attached to the agenda, Justin was kind of attached to our resolution. This is for moving along our regional, Appalachian Regional Commission, our ARC projects. We're going to vote on that via the website. So over the next couple of weeks, you'll have that opportunity on our follow-up to this meeting. We'll go along with that. And then you'll attach this again to the.
Yeah, after the meeting, I'll follow up with an email specifically to the board. I'll attach the resolution as well as a way for you all to vote. I believe Kathy would like those votes back before August 11th, so I'll make sure to have that deadline. So if you could address that by then.
Announcements. You have the surveys that you have online, and you have the links to the agenda. Please, everybody, over the next couple of weeks, respond to these. It's summertime. Genevieve?
Yes.
Any announcements?
No, not at this time.
I'm at the airport this weekend on Saturday and on Sunday, the annual Wings and Wheels That's usually at the slows filled up on North River Road in Holland, because of the size of the attendance that they've had in the past years. They're moving up to the Youngstown Warren Regional Airport. In past years, they've had about 10,000 people in attendance. So, and a lot of people just shy away because there was no parking up there. So this year, they're having it at our airport. Parking's free. It is a $10 attendance. The proceeds goes to support the Herring Hall Museum, which is at the Slows Airport up on North River Road. That's a nice, they have some nice stories up there and some equipment up there that's really nice for anybody that's in the aeronautic, has aeronautic interest. But that's going on from 8 in the morning till about 5 o'clock at night on this Saturday and Sunday. I can't think of anything else, Justin.
Yeah, I guess kind of open comments unless anybody has anything, or else we'll adjourn.
With no other comments, we're going to adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.